In the beginning, when the cosmos was still young and the earth was a canvas of chaos, there reigned a powerful deity known as Zeus, the king of the gods. He was a figure of immense strength and wisdom, wielding thunderbolts that could shatter mountains and command the skies with a mere thought. His reign over Olympus was marked by both grandeur and trepidation, for among the many gifts of the gods, the most terrifying was the gift of prophecy. It was said that the fates spun the threads of destiny, weaving together the fates of mortals and immortals alike. Each thread held the weight of a life, a choice, a consequence, and in the depths of their loom, they had spun a particularly dark thread for Zeus. The prophecy foretold that one of his own offspring would rise to challenge him, to overthrow him and seize the throne of Olympus. This child would possess a power so great that it could rival the might of Zeus himself, a fate that chilled him to the core. As the prophecy echoed in his mind, Zeus felt the weight of uncertainty settle heavily on his shoulders. He had seen the downfall of his father, Cronus, who had devoured his children in fear of a similar prophecy. Cronus had been warned that one of his offspring would dethrone him, and in his paranoia, he had swallowed each child whole, believing that by consuming them, he could prevent the prophecy from coming true. Yet, in the end, it was Zeus himself who had escaped this fate, the youngest of the siblings, who had risen up against Cronus and freed his brothers and sisters from their father's belly. Now, as the ruler of Olympus, Zeus was determined not to repeat the mistakes of his father. But the thought of losing his throne, his power, and the very essence of who he was, haunted him. He knew he could not simply devour his children, nor could he banish them from Olympus without raising suspicion. Instead, he sought to control the narrative, to shape the destiny of his offspring in a way that would ensure his continued reign. In the years that followed, Zeus became increasingly vigilant. He fathered many children, each one a potential threat to his rule. He fathered Athena, born from his forehead, a goddess of wisdom and warfare, who would never seek to overthrow him. He fathered Hermes, the messenger god, and Apollo, the god of music and prophecy, both of whom were loyal to their father. But it was the birth of his final child, a daughter named Persephone, that filled him with dread. She was beautiful, with an aura of strength that seemed to radiate from her very being, and as she grew, Zeus could not shake the feeling that she was the key to the prophecy. To protect himself, Zeus devised a plan. He called upon the nymphs and the dryads, the spirits of the earth, to raise Persephone in a secluded grove, far from the prying eyes of Olympus. He hoped that by keeping her hidden, he could erase the prophecy from existence. Yet the more he tried to control her destiny, the more he felt the weight of fate pressing down upon him. He could not escape the truth that the prophecy would always loom over him, a shadow that would never fade. As the years passed, whispers of the prophecy began to circulate among the other gods. They spoke in hushed tones, speculating on who the child would be and how they would rise against Zeus. The tension in Olympus grew, and Zeus, in his desperation, became increasingly authoritarian. He demanded loyalty from the gods, punishing those who dared to question his rule or suggest that the prophecy could come to pass. His once great kingdom began to fracture under the weight of fear and suspicion. One day, while surveying the earth from his throne on Olympus, Zeus spotted a mortal woman named Leto, who was pregnant with twins. He was struck by her beauty, and despite his growing paranoia, felt an overwhelming desire to be with her. He knew that the twins she carried would be powerful, potentially fulfilling the prophecy. Yet, in a moment of weakness, he could not resist. He descended to the mortal realm, and in the depths of passion, he fathered the twins Artemis and Apollo. When Leto gave birth, Zeus's heart sank. He felt the threads of fate tightening around him, and he could see the specter of the prophecy looming ever closer. He knew that Apollo, with his gifts of prophecy and strength, could very well be the one to challenge him. In a fit of rage and fear, he declared that Apollo would be raised in secrecy, hidden away from the world, until the time was right. The more Zeus tried to control the narrative, the more the gods began to murmur amongst themselves. They watched as their king, once a figure of unwavering strength, became a shadow of his former self. The laughter that once echoed through Olympus was replaced with whispers of fear and uncertainty. Zeus, in his quest to prevent the prophecy, had inadvertently sown the seeds of dissent among the gods. As the years turned into decades, Zeus's paranoia consumed him. He began to see potential threats in every corner of Olympus. Even the most loyal of his followers began to feel the weight of his suspicion. He turned against his own family, casting aside those he once held dear. Hera, his wife, grew distant, her heart heavy with the burden of her husband's fear. The other gods began to plot in secret, uncertain of how far Zeus would go to maintain his grip on power. One fateful night, a great storm brewed over Olympus, reflecting the turmoil within Zeus's heart. As he sat alone on his throne, the thunder rumbled and the skies darkened, mirroring the chaos within his mind. In that moment of solitude, he was visited by an apparition, a figure cloaked in shadows, who spoke to him in a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the abyss. "Zeus, king of the gods, your fear has become your prison. The prophecy you dread is not a curse, but a reflection of your own choices. The more you try to control the fate of your children, the more you bind yourself to the very destiny you wish to escape." The words resonated within him, striking a chord of truth that he could not ignore. He realized that in trying to prevent the prophecy, he had only intensified its grip on his life. The gods were no longer loyal out of love. They were loyal out of fear, and that fear was a poison that threatened to unravel the very fabric of Olympus. In a moment of clarity, Zeus resolved to confront the prophecy head-on. He called upon the Oracle of Delphi, seeking guidance on how to navigate the treacherous waters of fate. The oracle, shrouded in mystery, spoke of a path through darkness, a way to embrace the prophecy rather than flee from it. She warned him that the child destined to overthrow him would rise not from hatred, but from love and understanding, and that only by accepting this truth could he hope to maintain his reign. With newfound determination, Zeus returned to Olympus, ready to face the consequences of his actions. He gathered the gods and spoke to them with a voice that resonated with authority, yet softened with humility. He admitted his fears and his mistakes, acknowledging the rift that had formed among them. He vowed to treat his children with love and respect, to guide them rather than control them, and to embrace the complexity of their destinies. As the gods listened, a sense of unity began to weave itself back into the fabric of Olympus. The storm that had raged within Zeus began to dissipate, replaced by a calm resolve. He knew that the prophecy still loomed, but he also understood that it was not the end of his reign, but a new beginning. In the years that followed, Zeus embraced his role as a father, nurturing his children and allowing them to flourish. He watched as Apollo grew into a powerful god, a beacon of light and truth, and as Artemis became a fierce protector of the wild. Persephone, too, emerged from her hidden grove, a goddess of spring and rebirth, embodying the very essence of life itself. The prophecy, once a source of dread, transformed into a catalyst for growth. Zeus learned to trust his children, to empower them rather than stifle their potential. He forged alliances with them, recognizing that their strengths complemented his own. The bonds of family were reforged, and the gods of Olympus stood united once more. Yet the prophecy continued to linger in the background, a reminder of the delicate balance between power and vulnerability. Zeus understood that true strength lay not in domination, but in collaboration, in the recognition that even the most powerful among them could be challenged and changed. As time went on, the whispers of the prophecy faded into the annals of history. Zeus ruled with wisdom and grace, a king who had learned from his fears and embraced his legacy. The gods thrived, each one carving their own path while remaining steadfast in their loyalty to their father. In the end, the prophecy that had once terrified Zeus became a testament to his growth, a story of how fear could be transformed into understanding, and how love could conquer even the darkest of destinies. The threads of fate, once tangled and frayed, were woven together into a tapestry of hope, resilience, and unity, forever changing the course of Olympus and the legacy of the king of the gods.